Next,
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining live. Sorry, Gail, I think I just interrupted you as I started recording, but I'll chat to you later. And thank you for those who are joining live. It's always lovely to see your names and faces. And for those who are listening later, welcome too. I've just put on my rose roller and used my frankincense and my Melissa. So frankincense is the oil of truth, and that's very relevant to this time, which I'll tell you about just now. And then Melissa is just, I forgot, clear speech. It's the oil of light. So it's just really, and there's lovely bit of light streaming in. So last week was new moon in Leo and Lionsgate portal, which was such a significant time and such a significant energy. And there's been a lovely, creative, benevolent energy this last week. And it's a very powerful time for setting intentions and manifesting. And if you didn't join us last week and you haven't listened to the recording, it's still really worth listening to it and just having a moment to pause and set your intentions in your heart as to how you want to feel and how you want to show up in the world, and creating it here first before anything changes externally. And yesterday, I had the honor and the privilege of going to go and talk at the Greytown Garden Club. I think I mentioned last week I was going, and Nicole, who's on this call, was the organizer, and I'm very grateful to her for inviting me. And I think I only learned this afterwards, but I think it's the oldest garden club in the country. And it was so lovely. It was on a farm just near Greytown, and it was such a lovely morning. Although the garden is very much a winter garden at this stage, it was just soul food and lovely to be back in a garden club. And I really enjoyed it, and I hope it was nourishing for them as well. And I thought I'd share a bit of what I spoke about yesterday, because we all need a little bit of encouragement and reminders to get out into nature, into our gardens more. And luckily here in South Africa, we generally, although the Cape is struggling a bit, but we have lovely weather to do so. So just to share my Granny June's poem about gardens, we come from a lineage of gardeners for those who don't know. And she wrote this many years ago. A garden is memory, a garden is love, reflecting the glory of the heavens above. A garden is music, song of birds, hum of bees. A garden is beauty, bright flowers and green trees. A garden is solace for the sick and the old, with its promise of rebirth forever being told. For a while leave the world where worries don't cease. Come walk in a garden and find inner peace. So the talk was all about the healing properties of nature, and how just spending time in nature activates our parasympathetic nervous system. I just know in my body that I just feel so much better. It calms me, it nourishes me, it grounds me. It's where I have space to think, where I have space to talk to God. And it connects us. In this mindful moment, we're always trying to reconnect to nature's cycles and the moon cycle, what's going on in the stars, the seasonal cycles. And when we spend time in nature, it really does connect us back to that. And as my Granny June said, around death and rebirth. And I also quoted an article that my mum, who's on this, thanks mum, had written a while ago for St. Luke's Church, where she was doing the gardens. And she talked about a book that talked about the healing of gardens and how courses in horticulture were set up in 1920s in post-war England, as well as allotments and plots for those who didn't have gardens, with the aim of rehabilitating ex-servicemen who had had horrific post-war experiences and terrors and had left them in a state of what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. And they had incredibly good results there. And it's just I think, there's a space for the crutches of medication and things like that, but there's the deeper healing around actually gardening, creating death, rebirth, digging out the aggression that comes with hacking back a shrub or digging stuff out, turning things over. And it also talked about how even during the war, in the most fiercest of the war times, a lot of the chaplains and doctors and nurses, and even servicemen or people who were now in prolonged times in the little war hospitals or war clinics would set up and grow gardens, and how it would be so comforting and soothing for the soldiers who were then being treated there. And so we talked about how this fad, sometimes we think that things like forest bathing and ice bathing and grounding, all this earthing, and this is all and essential oils are all a fad. But actually the real fad is how disconnected we've become from nature, because always in human history, we've been so connected to nature and the seasons and living by the light and living by the seasons and eating food we've grown in our gardens, using herbs we've grown in our gardens, in our teas, making our own little potions and remedies. And the fad of us being so disconnected from gardens and from nature is actually the new fad, and a fad we want to let go of and return to the wisdom of nature. And yeah, so we also talked a lot about the different plants that we have in our gardens and their healing properties and what we use them for. And I went through our top 10 oils and the plants and how we can use the plants as well, and then the oils and a few others as well. And I mean to bring my books up here, but they are still in my bag. But if you have any of those Margaret Roberts, like herbal and plant books, if you've got any of the old aromatherapy books and you have essential oils, really pull them out and reread them. And even if you don't have essential oils, because there's so much wisdom in there on how to use our plants. And it's just, even I who've been using essential oils for a long time and know the basic uses and stuff, when I read Margaret Roberts' take on lavender and lemon, it so complemented how we use it in our oils. So the talk was really about doing away with the fad of not being tapped into nature and to spend more time barefoot on grass, lying on the grass, looking up at the sky or a tree, looking at the stars, seeing how they change morning and night, following the seasons, walking in nature, hugging trees, looking at plants, smelling plants. We did a lovely exercise of smelling, tasting, a mindfulness practice exercise, growing plants, using plants and using oils. And so turning to nature to soothe and to support and to renew and to heal. And we find our answers there, and it brings us closer to God. The other little phrase I shared is the kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the birds for mirth. We're closer to God in a garden than anywhere else on earth. So I thought I'd just share also a little bit briefly about Pam Gregory. As many of you know, she's a wonderful astrologer that I love to follow. And for me, astrology is the reading of the stars and the moon that has been created by a higher power. And so it's very comforting to me. And she talked about, particularly today, the 14th of August, Mars being conjunct to Jupiter at 16 degrees of Gemini. Now, that doesn't mean much to me, but I went out this morning and I actually hadn't listened to her talk before then. Went out to take shadow for his wee and to do my stargazing. There was Jupiter and Mars, two bright, bright stars right next to each other. Well, I mean, planets, obviously, but they just looked like these two bright and brilliant. I mean, you couldn't miss them. They were astounding. And then when I heard her forecast and that this is them conjunct to each other, really was just for me an understanding of what conjunct is. And then you see them so close together. And so she says today is fantastic for new initiatives, creative projects, writing. Gemini is very linked to writing, but it's also for fighting for our beliefs. And then next week, I'm not going to go into this because there's a lot. And if you're interested, you can always listen to her latest broadcast, which is about the full moon, supermoon on the 19th of August, which is obviously next Monday. And obviously a supermoon is when the moon is closer to the earth. So the power, the energy is stronger. So you feel our emotions, it heightens our emotions and heightens our reactions. And she says that next full moon, there's 3 T-squares, which is one of the strongest astrological configurations. which brings up very strong reactions, also very strong manifestations. It's a very strong revolutionary moon, especially for the US chart. So it sounds like they're very interesting times ahead, and very interesting hearing her take on politics, because she's not even convinced that the US election is going to go ahead. Just astrologically, things are changing so much over the next 6 months. So there's a lot of stuff going on, all are very unexpected, truths coming to light, a lot of drama, truth and mass awakening. It's not an introverted energy at all. She just says there's an extraordinary month ahead, few months ahead. And she says not to make us scared, but it's to understand what's happening. And she gives, she's used this analogy before many times about the kitchen refurb. And what's happening in our world is that the old order is all changing, that our old structures are breaking down, and we're creating what she speaks about as a very beautiful world, much more heart-based, much more connected, much more community, much more serving the people, less top-down authority, government control and power. But she says, like renovating your kitchen, you have a wonderful vision of how it's going to look, but the bit in the middle, the workmen come and they're breaking out stuff and their radios are going and there's dust and there's dirt, and you look around and think, what have I got myself into? Like, how is this ever going to be the kitchen that I really desire? And then slowly it comes together, and by the end you have this beautiful new kitchen, but you can't get there without the breakdown and the destruction of the old. And so when we're navigating times on this, we have to stay on our eagle's perch and stay in our center, which is what we practice here, and drop into our hearts to know the truth. She says there's going to be so much coming out, and the only way we'll be able to navigate it is to keep dropping into our hearts to know that what's true or true for us. And so this is again what we practice here. And there's so many themes around authenticity, around standing in our sovereignty, balancing of the masculine and the feminine, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, having both and the balance between them. Yeah, so it's a lot, and I just thought it's so lovely. I wanted to share that with you. And again, in this meditation now, we're going to just practice dropping into our heart center and settling in our heart, so that we really practice and proficient at going to our heart center. And we're going to start our meditation by listening to a poem that again I read yesterday. It's one I've done before on our Mindful Moments, but not for a long time. And so if you're sitting, I actually invite you to uncross your legs, rest your feet on the floor. If you are walking, just to let this settle in your body. If you're driving, wherever this finds you, just to invite a feeling of upright dignity into your body as you listen, a grounding of your feet on the floor or on the earth, your seat in your chair, your shoulders and head and neck towards the heavens above us. And it's advice from a tree. Dear friend, stand tall and proud. Sink your roots deeply into the earth. Reflect the light of a greater source. Think long-term. Go out on a limb. Remember your place among all living beings. Embrace with joy the changing seasons, for each yields its own abundance. The energy and birth of spring, the growth and contentment of summer, the wisdom to let go of the leaves in fall, the rest and quiet renewal of winter. Feel the wind and the sun, and delight in their presence. Look up at the moon that shines down upon you, and the mystery of the stars at night. Seek nourishment from the good things in life, simple pleasures, earth, fresh air, light. Be content with your natural beauty. Drink plenty of water. Let your limbs sway and dance in the breezes. Be flexible. Remember your roots. Enjoy the view. So just allowing these words to settle and following this next breath into your body. And allowing it to draw your attention down to your feet. With each breath that you take into your body, let your attention sink down towards your feet, noticing how they connect to the earth. Feeling them grounding there. Tracing the outline of your feet on the earth. And then feeling into a feeling of rootedness. The interplay between feet and earth. Noticing how these feet ground us on the earth, provide us with our balance, give us rootedness, and how in turn they receive nourishment and support from the earth. And just taking a few moments to feel into these sensations for yourself. And then, as a tree stretches out from the deep roots that we don't even see, noticing the magnificence of the tree, of our bodies, as they reach up, legs, knees, thighs, hips, pelvis, spine, abdomen, rib cage, shoulders, neck, head, reaching up towards the heavens. Just feeling into this incredible dignity, sovereignty, strength that we see within nature, that we see within trees, that we feel within ourselves. The tree rises from the earth and then spreads into its branches and expands into space, so allowing our bodies to expand into the space around us. Noticing if there are areas of tension or holding on in our bodies. And just taking a few breaths into these areas, inviting them to soften, inviting them to expand. And as we experience this strength and sovereignty, also dropping into our bodies and noticing the softness that lies there, the flexibility in our abdomen, pelvis, all the softness of our organs there, flexibility to move. In our heart and lung space, again, the softness of these organs, our lungs and our heart, and our blood vessels that then move out to every part of our body. Noticing the softness and flexibility that lies here blood vessels, nerves, fascia. And really feeling into the interplay between the strength, support, sovereignty, and the softness and life force energy that lies within us. The masculine container of the strength and support, protection, and the feminine of the flexibility and the flow, the connection. And as we feel this so strongly in our bodies, knowing that we have this capacity every day in our bodies and in our lives for strength and sovereignty, and also for flexibility, for navigating whatever weather is thrown at us. And dropping into our heart space at the core of this. Noticing the expansion and relaxation with every breath in this heart space. And inviting a feeling of gratitude for this moment, for this body, however imperfect may be. We look on ourselves so much more critically than we look on nature. We don't judge trees for their imperfections. We realize they are beautiful with their imperfections. So sensing into this gratitude in our heart space, noticing if it has a color, texture, a light, a shimmer, and just feeling into this. May start out small and difficult to connect with, but it may grow as you feed the feelings of gratitude. May grow and expand. And allowing it to do so. And then if there's anything that you're worried about, or anyone that you're holding close to your heart or want to offer prayers of love and support to, just bringing them gently into your heart space, like you might bring in a child onto your lap to give them a cuddle, hold them. Everything's going to be okay. Bringing this image or just even a sensational feeling into your heart space. Not being stuck in the story in our minds, but just bringing them into our heart space where they can be wrapped in this sensation of love and gratitude. knowing that this energy just expands. You can hold it all. And then gently, when you're ready, letting go of these images and sensations as you might let go of a balloon and watch it drifting up. Praying for the highest possible outcome. And just returning to your center. Just taking a few breaths into this heart space. Dear friend, stand tall and proud. Sink your roots deeply into the earth. Reflect the light of a greater source. Think long term. Go out on a limb. Remember your place among all living beings. Embrace with joy the changing seasons, for each yields its own abundance. The energy and birth of spring, growth and contentment of summer, the wisdom to let go of leaves in the fall, the rest and quiet renewal of winter. Feel the wind and the sun and delight in their presence. Look up at the moon that shines down upon you and the mystery of the stars at night. Seek nourishment from the good things in life. Simple pleasures, earth, fresh air, light. Be content with your natural beauty. Drink plenty of water. Let your limbs sway and dance in the breezes. Be flexible. Remember your roots. Enjoy the view. When you're ready, just feeling into your fingers and toes, perhaps moving them, your wrists, your ankles, your shoulders. Gently moving, stretching, coming back into your body. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and taking in the world around you, colors, light, names and faces. Thank you for sharing this time with me. It's always one of my favorite times of the week. And you're welcome to unmute and share anything or put anything in the comments. If you have to go, please do. I'm not going to be doing one next week because I'm actually going down to Cape Town and Joburg and doing these two Women in Finance Network events. One's in Cape Town on Tuesday and one's in Joburg on Thursday. And so I think my flight is quite early, so I'm not going to be able to do a mindful moment. I'll put a reminder on the group close to the time, but perhaps you can watch one of the other ones or use the time just to be in nature. So, and then I'll be back the following week. And then the Stargazer app was Sky View, and I just used the light version, which is the free version. Or I just thank you, everyone. I'm going to unpin myself so I can see you all. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the comments. Yeah. Thanks, Nix. Have a happy day too.
Thanks, Nix. Always beautiful. And that nature is so relevant. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And yeah, did the show go well in St. Francis?
It went absolutely beautiful. He had about 170 people there, at least. So it was a full house, and yeah.
And it was also all about his gratitude. Basically, he did a huge gratitude list. I mean, it sounded very sad, like very poignant. There's a big story.
Yeah, it's a play that is written by a playwright. And it's quite a spectacular play. It's actually helped a hell of a lot of people.
What is it called again?
Every Brilliant Thing.
Every Brilliant Thing.
And it's all about a guy as he goes through his life, persuading his mom, who suffers from depression, about all the brilliant things in life and what she should focus on, these brilliant things rather than her depression. So yeah, it's like funny and it's heartwarming and it's such a lovely place.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so. Every brilliant thing. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I won't see you next week, but I'll see you the following week. Sending love.
Thanks.
Bye.